Those that are joining us this morning, you can't see me, so let me come up front so you can see me. Can you all see me now? Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. A few of us are here in Bethany with our panel, and then we've got one other panelist, Megan Aiken. We had two others. Unfortunately, they were not able to join us, but we have an awesome group here this morning. Matt Fedek is going to be leading us through this panel this morning because everyone keeps talking about it, right? How do I get more listings? How do I have more success with strategies, techniques, tips? And we've assembled some folks here today that are going to give you some tidbits and nuggets, hopefully, that you'll be able to implement in your business. And the way we're doing this in this format, so Matt is going to start us off here. Matt is our operating principal and also leads an extremely successful team up in Kennett Square. So he is going to sort of start us off here, and then we're going to bring up our panelists. And we've got Megan on as well, and she is on via Zoom. And if you would like to ask questions, the best way to do that would be to go to your either your chat bar or into the Q&A, and I will monitor that. So I'll monitor that Q&A section in the chat so that we can answer questions that you may have. So please feel free to ask questions. I will monitor those and kind of throw those out there to our panelists and to Matt as we go through our session here this morning. So please don't hold back. If there's something you want to ask, please do. They are not a shy group that we have here this morning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. You ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Now he's ready.
Bridget's ready. She's like, we are starting this thing right on time. We are the total yin and yang. I'm like, we'll start when we're ready to start, which could be in 15 minutes. And Bridget's like, no, 10 o'clock, let's go, or 11 o'clock, whatever time we're at. Good morning. I am glad to spend this time with you guys. And there is nothing more important that we can be talking about in this market right now than listings. It is absolutely the most critical conversation to be having. Folks keep asking, like, what do I think about the market this year? What do I think is going to happen in the industry? What do I think is going to happen with the economy? So here's a couple of guesses just for me, right? This, I could be completely wrong. I'm just going to share with you what I think is going to happen, where I see the market going. We're going to talk about listing a little bit, and then you're going to hear from people much smarter than me that have great listing businesses. But here's what I think. I think 2022 is going to look very similar to 2021. I think that inventory will still remain low and highly competitive. I think that pricing will somewhat stabilize in a sense. That doesn't mean we won't see competitive offers or multiple offers, but I don't see the jump year over year to be as dramatically high, right? I don't see the jump from 21 to 22 being as high as what 21 from 2020 was going to be on there. Keep in mind, when we look at comparables and you look at home pricing, and I was having this conversation with an agent just yesterday, it's really important that comps, looking at past sales, is almost irrelevant to the pricing of a listing today. It's almost irrelevant because the price of a sold comp is somebody's opinion of value 30, 60, 90, 120 days ago. And so a sold house is less relevant than when you look at the available inventory and what that house is going to compete against. If somebody wants to buy in a specific neighborhood or a specific school district, and there is only one or two 4-bedroom, 2,200 square foot homes available, a past sale comp is irrelevant. It's what is the highest price that somebody can pay to get that, right? So when we look at comps and you look at pricing, don't get boxed in. I've talked to a few agents over the last couple of months who said, oh, I lost the listing because when I met with the seller, they wanted 450 and I only thought it could sell for 425. And so I told them 425, they wanted 450 and they went with another agent. And so I lost the listing. So time out. One thing that I wanted, I muted something.
There we go.
There you go. Time out on this. you have no idea what somebody's gonna pay for that listing at the moment, right? So giving a seller a prospective range will work, but if they want it higher than what you think it's worth, who the heck cares? Let the market do the work. On there, there are homes selling for prices I never imagined a home would sell for, right? Just not in any clue. On my own sales team, back in October, we went out and looked at a property with the entire team. And I said, no more than 775, like there's no way. Well, they listed at 875 and sold for 940, right? I said, no way, right? And I know that market, right? I know that market. My team has like a 24% market share in that market. And you know, so we know it. And I was way off. Like I wasn't even in daylight. And what it comes down to is if people, some people are looking at it going, if it's my forever home and I'm going to be there and it's where I want to go, I can pay whatever I want to pay for it on there. So my encouragement to you right now when it comes to pricing and strategy and things like that is you don't really know how to price a listing, right? You're going to use comps as a guide, but our ability to go in and say to the seller, yep, that house is going to sell for 325, we just don't know. So the other side of the coin is don't lose a listing. There are so few listings available. Take the listing, take the listing, take the listing on there. Listings are, as far as I'm concerned, the fruits of the real estate gods. Listings are what drive the market, and listing agents control the market. Period, full stop, right? Who determines the list price, right? When you look at a listing, who determines the list price, right? The seller guided by their agent. So tonight, if every listing agent in our board, let's just even say in Sussex County, if every listing agent got on Zoom that had an active listing and called each other and said, let's raise all of our listings tonight by 10%, do you think that would impact the market? Of course it would. If every listing agent that had an active listing got on the phone and said, let's drop all of our listings 10%, would that impact the market? Of course. The listing agents control the public perception or the public placement of listings, right? So that they're critical. The second part of it is who determines the compensation for both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Who determines it, right? The listing agent, right? The listing agent who has the skills to go and meet with a seller and negotiate a commission and then decide what they're going to offer as a cooperating commission. That's who decides your compensation. Why would you want to focus on not taking more listings and determining and having a contractual obligation on what you're going to be paid, right? As a buyer's agent, you are left with whatever a listing agent has negotiated for you, number one. Number two, you'd be left with zero. As we've seen in our market, there are some agents now offering a very nominal commission amount and saying, go negotiate with the buyer's agent. For those of you that aren't tracking, you know, there is a class action lawsuit against the industry saying that the buyer's agent commission, one, should be fully transparent and buyers should see it to begin with. But number two, that maybe the seller shouldn't be paying a buyer's agent commission at all, and each agent should be paid by their respective client and negotiate it. And you guys, I think, you know, if that happens, I'm all for transparency. I can care less. You know, that doesn't matter to me. But what makes me nervous is the reason the compensation model works really well the way it works is because the costs are rolled into a buyer's financing, and the cost to the seller come out of their equity. So nobody's writing a check for most of their costs. And that's why the real estate commission sales model works the way it works and works well. If we say to a buyer's agent or a buyer client today, I charge 2.5% for my services on there. One, you know somebody else is going to do it cheaper, right? So they're going to start shopping agents based on price. And we also know typically that compensation is commensurate with experience, right? If you want to work with me, you're paying X. You want to work with a brand new agent who just got their license last week, who can't demand X, they're going to charge Y. right? And so then what ends up happening is that buyers can go with the least qualified person to represent them in the most important financial transaction these people are going to do this year. And because they're going to struggle rolling that closing cost into their financing, right? We've talked with lenders. Lenders look at what they call traditional closing costs for their underwriters, and they're loath to start saying, well, we'll have 2% here and 1% here and 3% there. And now you're looking at it, can they put it in their financing, or are they going to have to write a check for it? So the way the model works today, I'm fine. You want transparency? Have transparency. It's okay. I care less. Although I'll tell you, I just had surgery 3 weeks ago, and I have no idea what I paid for any of it. There was no transparency in my doctor's bills, right? My doctor didn't say this surgery is going to cost you this, right? I saw nothing. The only thing that I've seen were prescription, copays that I've had. I have no idea what the anesthesiologist charged and the nurse practitioner charged, and and what was that CAT scan? And I haven't seen any of it. There was no transparency in any of that on there. I just signed the annual contract with my accounting firm to do all of our taxes, and they have a big range, right? Working with our clerical assistant costs $25 an hour. Working with a senior partner costs $4.50 an hour, and you're going to pay anything depends on who touches your file. Well, how transparent is that? Right? I don't know. I can't control how much the clerical person does compared to that. So what I'm saying is that when you look at our industry, there's no more important time for you to be in control of the listings so that you can control the market, you can guide your clients, and be in control of your compensation, right? That to me is the most important thing you can do. That's why listings are so important on there. It's a contractual obligation on compensation and so much more. Lastly, the most important thing about listings when we think about them in today's market is they're scarce, right? There's not enough listings to handle the buyer demand. Now, if you look at the volume of real estate sold, everyone goes, there's not enough on the market. It's not really true. It's just that everything's sell. There's not enough on the active market because we have a glut of buyers. The available inventory goes very, very quickly on there, right? So it's not that we have no inventory, it's that the available active inventory sells quickly because it's an overabundance of buyers, not because it's an under a number of available listings. So because of that, again, if you are building a buyer-based business or you're focused on buyer-based businesses on there, you're going to struggle. If you've got 8 or 10 buyers that would buy tomorrow that are ready, willing, and able, to find them enough available homes and to compete and get the home that they want at the price that they're willing to pay, you might have to write 4, 5, 6, 7 offers for them to be able to win. Right? On a listing, you take it, you're going to get it sold, you're going to get through the process, and so you know that you're going to win. So I want to encourage you today as we talk to different agents here from our market center about the strategies about what they're doing to obtain listings and how they're going to do it. I want you to be thinking about the importance of this, that today is the day to have the mindset that I'm going to be a listing agent and I'm going to get the listings that I need. I'm going to be listing focused so that you can have a successful 2022, because those who control the market and control the inventory are the ones that are going to have a great year. If you're 100% buyer focused or you're not putting enough energy into obtaining listings, you're going to struggle to hit your goals on there, because it's just going to be hard to win on there. It's just not going to be enough. So here's the last part I'll say before we dive into our panelist is my final projection for the year, about the same as last year, meaning there's going to be more listings. Let me say it this way. Listings will continue to go very, very fast. Therefore, active listing inventory will remain very, very low on there. Guys, if you looked at it right now, let's say that the market's showing a month and a half supply of listings, right? If you took out listings that have been on the market for more than 60 days, there's probably a 10-day supply, right? What makes that month and a half supply in there is all the new construction lots and things like that are just sitting out there that are just churning, homes that have been way overpriced forever and haven't sold. If you took out every listing that was more than 60 days out of the actives and only looked at your actives, the pool is even much smaller. It's probably days. It's not weeks or months in there. So your job is to get hyper focused on how do I take the next listing. And we're going to talk about the different objections that come up. We're going to talk about how to specialize in that. But my projection is listings will continue to go fast with multiple offers on there. Lastly, what do I think happens with the economy? Because this obviously drives in interest rates. I think two things. I do think interest rates will continue to creep up. We're not going to see them, I don't think, in the 4s and 5s. I think you're going to see mid 3s, upper 3s throughout the rest of the year on there, at least in first home, primary home, residence financing. We're going to see a blip on the secondary home market because of the new underwriting guidelines from Fannie and Freddie. We're going to see some blip in pricing. I do think that anytime that stuff happens, lenders come out with new creative products and they just got to figure it out. And then we'll get some new creative products, in time to figure it out. Economy wise, people say, we're in tune for a recession on there. I don't, if you look at it, we have not, we haven't had enough slowdown in growth for that to happen. And because we've got a big midterm election coming up in November, there's no elected official anywhere that wants to be running for re-election in the middle of a recession. So the government will do everything possible to prop it up through the rest of this year, right? So I just don't see us having a tough economic year in 2022 because they will pull out every stop to make sure that they all look good so they get reelected across the board on there. So here's my final word on that is I think 2023 we could see a slowdown, right? Because you'll get past it. Plus you'll be heading into then a presidential election, and whether it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, nobody wants the incumbent to get reelected that's on the other side, and they'll do everything policy-wise to tank the president, period. Right? That's just it happens. It doesn't matter, right? It happens to the Republican side, and it happens on the Democratic side, right? Those that are in charge will try to tank the policies to push the incumbent out. And in the midterm, where it's only a congressional, they do everything to prop it up so they get reelected. I'm just telling you, that's how it works. And if you study it, that's the thing. So I think we're gonna have a good year. My piece of advice is make a lot of money this year, store it away, and be prepared for a tighter 2023. Right? Just be prepared for a tighter 2023. This is the year to build up 3 or 4 months worth of cash reserves for your business, for your personal expenses, and invest. Right? This is the year for it. All right. So now I've given you kind of the overview. Let's see if there's any questions or anything you want me to answer before we do that. Then what we're going to do now is talk. Okay, great. You want me to focus on listings? How do I do it? What am I going to do? So are there any questions?
So we do have one. We do have a question. So the very first question we have is, how do you convince a seller that is stuck on, I found someone else who can list it for 4%, so can't you meet that? Yeah, so commission objections on there, right? So I think here's what I would tell you. Don't lose a listing on commission today, right? Don't lose it because it's tough and you want to get a hold of it. Number two is you've got to get really good at your commission objection handling. And I'm going to ask our panelists to give us the best commission objection handlers as we go through it. And I'll make sure that we've got 3 or 4 or 5 before the end of the session. So you've got a tool there. You've got to know how to defend it. I will tell you, I think that it's critical that we as a company, I'm not talking about our competitors. I'm not talking about fixing commissions and antitrust stuff. As a company, we can have a commission policy. What we can't do is go out and talk to our competitors and have a commission policy, right? We could set a mandatory minimum for our agents if we wanted to on there. So there's nothing wrong with us talking about commission. What we can't do is go out to our friends at Remax and Long and Foster and say, okay, we're all charge X together and set a standard for the community. So we can't do that. But as a company, we can talk about it. And I believe it's critically important that we as a group believe that our value is tied up in around a 5% commission. When you look at the costs and things that are involved in there, I believe that somewhere around a 5% commission is what our value is on there. But we'll give you the objection handlers. I'm gonna ask, so all our panelists get prepared. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna ask you how do you handle commission objections. So I'll let you think about it for a few minutes. Did I see one more question? Yeah, there's another one here. It says, do you have to be consistent by law Or is the commission adjustment based on home value, et cetera?
You mean so who asked the question?
Lauren Smith.
So Lauren, let me just be clear on your question. Are you talking about the overall commission percentage that you charge on the listing contract? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So you, you can charge, there's no law on what we can charge on commission. There's zero law, right? That it's a free market. That's the whole point of antitrust. There is no law. You can charge whatever you want to charge. I will tell you my experience as an agent is the higher the price point of the house, the less objection I have on what I charge. The lower the price point of the house, the more objection that I get. I have 2 listings over $2 million right now that are over 6.5%. Right, because we spend a lot of money on marketing for them, and that's what we get on that on there, 6.5% on there, and we charge $15,000 upfront marketing fee for all the things that we're going to do up front. So the higher the price point, quite honestly, usually the less objection we have. It's usually more at the lower price points because those folks think that they're watching every dollar, and what they don't understand is when you hire a high quality agent who does a great job marketing, that the higher price point for their home and their net takeaway increases by exposing their home to more buyers. That's how we get the highest price, right? So we focus on the net, not the percentages on there. Anything else?
Yep, one more here. What about a seller's request to list their property way too high?
Who cares? In this market, who cares? I don't care. I would tell you, if you'd asked me about that 3 years ago, I would coach you on how to get it within a certain range. But guys, I'm just telling you, you have no idea what somebody's gonna pay for that house in this market. And we'll ask all our panelists this too. Because again, this is just my perspective is you have no idea. And sometimes people need the market to tell them on there. So, and I will tell you that I currently have a listing where I told them I thought that the market value was gonna be around 550. They wanted to start at 600. I'm like, we're not far apart, but the house has some issues because it's a very unique older home built in the 1700s. So the buyer pool is much smaller, right? Because it's got unique issues of an older historic home. It's not a typical 2,600 square foot in a community home, right? So I said, hey, look well, now we've had 32 showings and no offers, right? 32 showings and no offers. It's a price issue. Right, so now they've made the price reduction. So sometimes the market has to do the heavy lifting and help people understand. So what I said to the sellers, yep, absolutely, it's your home. You get to decide. I'm here to guide you in the process. My recommendation is we start at 550, we might even get multiple offers. If we start at 6, we might not. But the higher the price point, better for you, better for me, better for everybody. Let's start there and let's do it. We're now 4 weeks in, right, and more than enough. So now we just reduced the price today because we had a conversation, said this many showings, we should have had an offer. We don't, right? And they felt, okay, hey, great. So now we're bringing it down. So there's nothing wrong in this market with starting higher and trying to inch your way down to the market. Some people just, and it also depends on the relationship. See, what we forget sometimes is people their home is not only an investment for them, they're emotionally attached to it. And they believe, right, there's nothing wrong with my house. It's perfect. They live there for so long, they don't see any blemishes. So you walk in, and unless you have a significant relationship, you spend an hour, maybe 90 minutes with them, and you're telling them something that they don't want to hear, and they don't trust you, right? And so the trust factor, and our thing is, right, and I go in and say, look, my team sells 500 homes a year. I have a lot of experience in doing this. I've personally sold 3,000 homes, right? I have credibility here. On there. So sometimes our ego gets in the way and we want to tell people, but you just walked in here, you don't know me, you don't know my house. All of my friends come in here and say it's beautiful and lovely, right? And all of my relatives like to come here for the holidays and they say it's awesome and it's great. And at the same time, right, no one's telling you your house smells like cat litter box from the minute you walk in. No one tells you that the wallpaper in your dining room that you put in 35 years ago is dated and peeling. Your friends, of course, aren't going to say that. Right. So sometimes our job is to let the market do the heavy lifting, let the market do the research and prove it for us. And we just continue to guide, right? We don't go back and say, I told you so. We say, hey guys, we're coming into the 4th weekend of showings. We have 4 showings this weekend. We haven't had any offers. I'm wondering if you would like to have a conversation about a strategic price change that might help us get an offer this weekend. Right? And you empower them to make decisions. When you call them and say, we're going to do X, Y, Z, and you start telling people, nobody wants to be told what to do. People want to be guided, they want to be given choices. So you guide them through the process. All right, did I answer that? Is there one more in there?
There's one more, yep, from Joyce. If the home doesn't sell, what happens with that upfront marketing fee?
Oh, it's non-refundable. Our upfront market, and that's why we take it upfront. It's non-refundable. So we're going to spend that kind of money up front between staging, photographs, floor plans, aerial shots, high quality marketing materials that are printed, as well as buying ads. For those types of luxury homes, we do a lot of high-end ad purchases that start $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a piece to get some of those homes recognition, right? We're in a market where our average sales price is 400. When you get something at 2 million, we're doing a whole different level of marketing. So that initial marketing fee we take up front, it's non-refundable. It's part of it. However, we would, because they paid for it, should we not sell the home and they choose another agent, we would give them all those tools they paid for them. So it's only happened to me once, but I'm like, here, take it. You know, if I can't get it sold, somebody else, you know, we'll let somebody else try. Good?
We're good.
All right. So I think what we're going to do is do one at a time from now, and then kind of at the end, we'll kind of all just get bombarded with, you know, a flash round of questions. So we're going to work through each of our panelists. I'm going to ask them some questions. You can ask them some questions. We're going to go through each one and go through kind of their unique take on it. And then at maybe the last 15 minutes, we'll get everybody together and we'll just let you guys fire any questions that you have on them, anything that you want to do. Sounds good? All right, so I'm going to make life easy, let's start with Megan. Because Megan is on Zoom with us, and then the guys that are in the room, the men and women in the room, can continue to chill out. Megan's there, so Megan can join us. Hello, Ms. Aiken. She's muted. So
Sorry.
There you are.
I'm here. Thanks.
Good morning, how are you?
Good, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. Megan is absolutely the queen of Central Delaware. If you don't know Megan, tell us a little bit about you and your business and your team. How long have you been in business? Tell us about you.
Sure. Okay, so I'm actually in my 10th year with Keller Williams. I'll celebrate that anniversary in August. But prior to this life, I actually sold new construction for Ryland Homes for 6 years in Delaware. I have 3 kids. I live in Middletown. I'm married, and we've been here since 2004. So we're transplants from out of state. And I actually started building my team in 2016, and that changed my world, starting to allow leverage in. And just to kind of fast forward, 2021, we closed 104 listing sides with an average closing price of $413.
Awesome. And how many total units?
Total units 207.
107. So you're half on the listing side. More than half.
We're about 50-50. We're always competing with our buyer team. So I am still in production. I'm the listing specialist on the team and the only listing agent on the team. Whereas we have 4 buyers agents on the buyer team. So we're a little competitive about our numbers. Yes.
And where's your primary market?
So I started in Middletown and just kind of figured I would saturate within this market. And so we have done, currently we do about 85% of our business all within the Middletown and surrounding areas, like within a few miles. And then we do have an agent that will go all the way to the northern border. And then we go as far south as Dover. And then we typically refer out past there.
Great. So tell us a little bit about your team makeup. How many people are on your team? How many people do what? You see mostly a group of 4 buyers, but just tell us a little bit about your team makeup.
Sure. So I'm the team leader, and we do have a mega agent office by ourselves up in Middletown. So we have a total of 9 of us, actually. I think we're about to add a 10th. But it is myself as the listing specialist and rainmaker. And then I have a director of operations. And then I have a buyer concierge specialist and a listing concierge specialist, 4 buyers agents, including a lead buyer specialist. And then we have a pretty awesome piece of our team, which is our staging team. So we do have a staging director. She is a W-2 employee with the team, and she gets to hire up to 3 or 4 interns at a time that are off the pay scale there, but they actually assist her with all of our staging, and that's all exclusive within our team. So there's about 9 of us total.
That's awesome. Megan's office is fantastic. If you are driving to the Middletown area, you should stop in and see them. They have a really cool office space and a great culture. And so I'm sure she'd be happy to show you around if you're up in Middletown. So Megan, tell me, so the first thing that just hit me was half of the business on your team was done by you on the list side, and the other half was done by 4 other agents. Right? So 4 agents did the equivalent of the amount of work that you did.
I don't know that necessarily.
Was that true? Is that what you said?
No, I would say no, because, as we know, the buyer agents are probably working twice as hard as listing agents. Well, maybe not anymore, but I would say I think it's the systems that we have in place that ultimately allow me to do that many units. I mean, I don't do, all of that. That's my job, is to get into the appointment and close it. And at that point, I pass it off to Michelle, my listings concierge, and she takes it all the way to closing for me with my staging partner. And I typically jump back in for when we're doing offer negotiations, and then again at closing to say congratulations. But the truth is you obviously preach this, but my 20% is being in front of the client and closing them and convincing them of the value of hiring our team. And I focus in that niche and just do that over and over and over, while I hand off the stuff that I may not be as great at to other members of my team. And we kind of call ourselves like the Chick-fil-A of real estate. We tend to run smoothly and operate smoothly without a lot of hiccups, and it tends to surprise us sometimes when we stop and look at our numbers, because we're like, oh, that's cool,
Right,
and yeah.
What you did though is you proved my point a little bit.
Yeah.
It's that the other side about being listing heavy or listing focused is that you can do, as an individual agent, far more transactions and do more work per hour on listings than you can with buyers, right? On any given Saturday at 1 o'clock, how many buyers can you personally show homes to? On any Saturday at 1 o'clock, how many buyers, right? 1, right? You can only show 1 house at a time, right? At the height of the short sale and REO market, right? When things are at the height of the height, I personally had 150 listings, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because one is that after you take the listing, right? After you go and meet with somebody and take the listing, everything else can be done remotely. So now, even if you don't have a team, if you're a solo agent, you could spend 50% of your time sitting on a beach in Florida all winter long and come home Monday and Tuesday and take 1 or 2 listings, high five the sellers, and hop on a plane on Wednesday and spend Wednesday to Sunday on a beach in Florida and have a very successful real estate career because of the way listings work. So that's the other benefit, that not only do we control the compensation, but you can work more with more sellers than you can with active buyers because of the way it works, right? I could go on a listing appointment every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 1 o'clock, and sign 1 listing, take 5 listings and be done, and go away for the weekend and go do something. Everything else I can do for my listing is all going to happen on my phone. every offer, everything we're gonna negotiate can all be happened here and be leveraged with technology or other people. So I want you guys to think, when you think about listing, not only do you control compensation, not only do you control marketing and all those pieces, you also get to leverage your time. Now, the one thing I'm a little sensitive to is that many of our guests on that are watching today is that you go, well, I'm a solo agent. I don't have a team. I don't have a listing concierge. I don't have somebody else to do all that. How does this apply to me? It's the concepts that apply, right? So Megan runs a larger business, so she has more people around her. Well, she didn't start that way, right? Megan, when you first started listing homes, did you have a listing concierge?
No, I was by
Who did
myself.
it? So when you did that, what helped your business grow to the extent that you could afford to add people, administrative professionals, not buyer's agents, but administrative professionals to help you manage your listing business? What was the catalyst? What did you do that made that happen?
Well, that's a great question. And I think about this almost every day with gratitude for my team members. But it was around 2015, about 3 years in. And I mean, again, I mentioned I have 3 kids. All 3 at the time were under the age of 6. And one of them is on the autistic spectrum. And I was closing close to 60 units by myself with no help. And I was miserable. I mean, miserable. And, it got to the point where like everything was affected. My personal life was affected, my marriage, my relationships with my friends and family. And I had talked to, I love the KW systems in that you can find your answers usually in KW University, online in the my KW areas. I used to spend a lot of time just watching videos in there, going in there, reading and watching old panels. And I watched one that just kind of blew my mind about this woman. You probably all know Vanpool Properties or Seychelles down in Texas. And I watched one about how she ran this showing agent model. And I was just like, well, what am I doing wrong here that, I can't bring somebody in? And it just happened to kind of organically start when I just had a conversation with a local friend and was like, hey, do you want to come and just help me administratively with a little bit of things? And as soon as you start to get a little bit of a taste of what your time is like and get it back, you just start to dive in. And I went from part-time with her to begging her to be full-time. And within 6 months, I was trying to hire a showing agent. So because I was just so done with showing homes and exhausted. And, so I just got to the point where I was like, you just start to see the difference in your feeling and your lifestyle and your ability to give your client that customer service level that you weren't able to give by yourself. And the guilt you get from that, I mean, personally, is a lot. So just being able to spend more time focusing on a client and knowing that somebody else is helping them when you're not gives you that comfort. So to answer your question about when that pivoted for me, it was about 60 units a year by myself. And I was probably GCIing around 150 to 200 maybe. And like, I was like ready. I'm like, I need some help. So I kind of leveraged about, started with like 25, 30,000 a year just for like somebody to help me part-time, and we did hourly. And then once I started seeing the benefits to that, we just kind of increased that. And it's hard at first because you feel like you're letting a piece of you go. I'm a big control freak. So that was a big learning curve for me, to let my guard down. And I'll never forget, the biggest thing she always said to me was, I can't read your mind. You're going to have to tell me exactly what you want me to do for you, and I will do it. But, and that was always, because I would always be like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to do it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that could hold you back from growing, is thinking that you can do it all and you're the one who's the best for all of the pieces of the job, because it's just not the case. So
Megan, going into 2022, what is your goal for listings taken this year?
Um, 2022 listings goal for us is about 125.
It's a 10 a month.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me, what do you expect to be your top 2 sources of listing leads for this year?
The number one client lead that we get for listings is our farming and word of mouth efforts. So the second would be client referrals. We're really heavy into our farming campaigns, and if you haven't already taken it, I think there's a MAPS course about farming. I took that a couple years ago and must have had about 10 pages of notes, but it's a really great course. And I would say the greatest thing you can do in trying to position yourself for those is to just remember that you got to start being an expert in one space before you try to go be an expert in all things real estate. And I know that's hard for some of us, again, with egos to diminish, but the truth is that's how you grow organically, by becoming an expert. Like, I just decided, okay, I'm going to be an expert in Middletown, and just go with that, because I had 3 young kids and I could just stay local and it was easier. I didn't have to chase all over the state. And so that was my pathway. And since it's been 5-6 years since I started farming this area, it's kind of organically coming to us now. So we'll get people just say, oh, I see you all over town, and I see your ads, and I see your signs, and da da da. But again,
Can you tell us a little bit about specifically what you do for farming?
yeah, so I mean, it started out with, you got to kind of start with, what is your brand, right? And so you got to kind of figure out like what you want in people's heads when they're talking about you. My first thing coming out into real estate was always that it drove me nuts that people mispronounced my last name. So I made a slogan that happened to rhyme. And so, the "Don't Get Taken, Call Megan Aiken" got really popular. And it helped me because I was like, oh, good, you pronounced my name correctly. When you see my ads, I don't want them saying Atkins or, Akin. And it was just meant to be kind of like a funny thing. And it turned into like a big thing locally. Kids were thinking it was funny. It was on the billboard and, that type of thing. And so it just kind of, again, you got to start with something that could catch on with your audience, So
Right.
if you and yourself, it has to make sense with who you are. I'm a pretty, sarcastic, big joker kind of person. So I know I needed something that matched my personality. So when people think it's funny and they call me, then I already know we're going to get along because we're going to laugh about that. So
Right now, do you have a direct mail campaign program that you do? Do you have display ads that you do? Tell us a little bit about the specifics within your geographical farm. Like, what tools are you using?
Sure. I feel like my director of ops should be on that question because I'm probably so far out of what we're doing. But let me see if I can break it down. Okay, so I know we are in the Giant. We have like a kiosk in the Giant. We used to call it the butt wipe stand, but it's the Purell stand. And as a parent, you understand why, because like we'd walk by and be like, oh, it looks like you could get yourself a Huggies wipe. But who knew the pandemic was going to come and I was going to become like a life-saving person giving out wipes. But we've been in there for like 6 years. So we are pretty well known in the Giant. And then we also did a billboard on a pretty busy intersection, negotiated a pretty cheap rate with a company that at the time 6 years ago was fishing for people. So I'm getting a text from my DOO telling me where I'm at. And
Thanks, Chris.
yes, thank you for keeping up on that stuff. I mean, I have banners at the local schools on their fields. And then we also took out an ad on the scoreboard at one of the new local schools. And
Have you used any type of direct mail campaigns at all? Any postcard, letter?
Yes. So technically, we don't have a direct mail campaign per se, but we do send out, just listed, just sold. And we do that all through Brivity. So that's something that just kind of was like an automated, it goes, immediately into just listed, just sold, and just closed. And I will tell you, we get a good amount of calls from those postcards.
Okay.
So
Do you do any type of geographical Facebook ads or social media ads at all? And yes, we can ask Chris later. But
don't ask Chris that one, because that's definitely more me. I definitely am more of a social media, present person than Chris on the team, but I'm okay with that. I like connecting online. Of course, as a stay-at-home mom back in the day, that was my only lifeline. So I did learn early on. I'm sure you're familiar with Scott up in he's with Cherry Hill. He's very techie. Help me out. RRPG or RPG. Anyway, I met him several years ago at one of his tech education seminars up in Cherry Hill. And he was just starting to explain how to advertise on Facebook, and I totally nerded out over it. And ever since, I have always done geographical advertising on Facebook for about 100 to 200 bucks a month. I run local ads in the local zip codes. That's the key. Kind of have to narrow down your geographical farm in the ads. But then I also started to figure out that you can also do some of that within the internet. You can actually go in and, have you ever heard of AdWorks? If you haven't, you should look it up in your zip code down there or wherever you are. And they offer pretty cheap tagging, where like if basically your ad appears somewhere and then it would follow that user throughout different sites that they might be visiting, like you're stalking them in a lot of ways. And that tends to also get us a lot of attention. So that's AdWerx, and KW is partnered with them.
great. Could I ask you two quick, when you talk about your past clients or your sphere being your second source, can you give us one or two tips about how you stay in touch with what are your touch points for your past clients or sphere?
Yeah, so this is an area I'm obsessed with, because I absolutely have seen it return on investment there. So we actually did kind of start out when it was just me and my first admin. We would start by just doing mom's nights out. We rented a couple of theaters, and we would do private movie showings. So fast forward to today, and I mean, with COVID, we had to adjust a little bit, but really we just try to engage our past clients through events. I'm really trying to go heavy in events in 2022, since we're starting to branch out of our houses again, and just trying to stay in front of them, stay top of mind with them in multiple facets. So not just like, okay, let's go have a party, but also, okay, we're fundraising for this cause and we want to raise this much, and we try to get them involved through multiple different areas. And just again, trying to partner with local businesses, keeping them partnered on sponsorships. They're also getting the similar reaches to the local audiences. But yeah, most of our past client referrals end up being people that either we've helped them in the past, or they want us to help their friend, neighbor, or coworker, or somebody that they've heard is even looking for a house. So we're in development with some of those systems this year. We're going to be hiring we kind of copied a title from somebody in the mastermind group, director of fun. So we are in the process of hiring somebody who will be in charge of client events, and also team events, and certainly staying in touch with clients and stuff like that. So that's a huge piece that is going into this year for sure.
All right, last question for now. Let's do the commission objection handler. You meet with a client, you have your standard commission that you get if you are going to work with Megan, and the prospect says, well, so-and-so will do it for cheaper, give us one of your best commission objection handlers.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we all see this happen. And I mean, I do have to say I have a little bit of an advantage in that when people do have us come in, a lot of the times they already know about our services and us. So that, I mean, that's another advantage of really knowing your people and them knowing you, is you can walk in with a lot smoother conversations. Instead of a sales pitch, it's just a conversation. And you don't, like, I would say 99% of my listing appointments, we don't even talk about commission. So we talk about profit. So I would say that when that does happen, and that does happen, my first answer is usually, Mr. Seller, I totally hear you. And, I understand that, Mr. Remax over there wants to offer you 4%. And I understand if that's important to you, but what I just heard from you was also that you really wanted to turn the highest possible profit that you could on this house. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I would say let's focus in on that number. And if I can show you the number that you want to get based on, how my team can help you get there, would the percentage really matter as far as the profits that we can turn for you?
Yeah,
And you
my
could say yes.
profit's the most important number. There's no doubt about
You
it.
could say yes, commissions do matter, because we still have those people that keep pressing. And, at that point, I probably would be like, okay, listen, I hear you. And, let's talk about what I can offer you at this percentage and what I can offer you at that percentage, because I want your business, Mr. Jones, and I understand that there's a lot of others out there that want to diminish their value. Now, me personally, I happen to value the services we provide. And one of the red flags that comes with anybody who diminishes their own value so quickly out of the gate is that most likely they're going to diminish the value of your house when it goes on the market and people are making offers. Is that the kind of person that you want working for you?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's, I usually go with like, it drives me nuts when agents go online too, and Facebook. I just have to say this because you said it earlier. You cannot discuss commissions as a standard of practice. And I see this, unfortunately, on Facebook groups sometimes where people will be like, oh, I need an agent, but I want somebody who's only going to charge 5%, right? And you get 45 agents chiming in like, oh, I'll do it, like raising their hands. I'm sorry, mom pup. But the truth of the matter is first of all, you should never give away your farm so quickly. But I mean, that to me just speaks to desperation more than anything. And so I would say hold confidence, have confidence in your value. And before you quick give in to the lower commissions, you got to at least try to explain your value proposition and, hang in there. If anything, you want to, like you have taught in previous courses, offer a tier of commission structure so that they can select the route they want to go. You want to do this? Okay, well, we'll do it that way, but we're only going to do this, this, and this. So, and usually people will select some of the higher options because they want more of those features.
All right, Megan, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
We have two questions.
We got two
for Megan.
questions. Yeah, go.
First question was, what CRM are you using?
Great question. I'm in Brivity, and I was in Top Producer for a very long time. And our team did go into Command short amount of time, but it was still when they were working out the Teams stuff. So we ended up going to Brivity because it had more team functions in place. But we're hoping to get to Command at some point in the future. But for now, we're very happy with Brivity.
Okay. Last question for you is, how long would you say your listing appointments are? And if you keep them short, how do you go about keeping them short?
That's a really good question because I just had one yesterday that I was like, oh, that was quick. I think it really just depends on how much information you gather up front. We do send a pre-listing survey to every person that schedules an appointment, as long as it's not like a same day appointment. They usually fill it out, get it back to us. So I've already read, reviewed, and seen most of what we usually try to ask them when we're on site anyway. So when I get there and we're in those meetings, I kind of have a little routine. I get there, we kind of warm and fuzzy it for a minute, and then I say, give me a walkthrough, show me your home. And I let them lead me and show me everything about their home. And then I say, let's sit down and chat. I'll show you some of the goodies I brought, and we sit and we honestly, a lot of times my goodies don't even get, that sounds wrong. They don't get looked at, but a lot of the times we're talking more about their needs. And really, I try to focus in on those hot spots where they're like, oh, we really, like if they're divorcing, or, I try to get them to focus in on making the most money. Cause let's face it, in a divorce, that's what they want, the most money they can possibly walk away with. So, it's all about kind of knowing your audience and reading the room. And typically my listing appointments are about an hour, sometimes two, if it's somebody who really likes to talk. And, I will sit there and just kind of listen and just build that relationship with them. But a lot of the times I can be in and out in 45 minutes to an hour.
Now, you mentioned you have a staging group. When would you send your staging person in, and do you send your staging person in on every on every listing?
Yeah, great question too. I'm the only person who attends the listing appointments, with the exception of sometimes a buyer specialist. So if the client is doing a buy and sell, we bring a buyer specialist with us so that we can kind of tag team that. But the staging professional does not come until after we've signed a listing agreement. So usually that is within, a couple of days of the appointment, unless they're not in a rush situation, in which case sometimes she'll go out, over the next couple weeks or so.
Awesome. All right, Megan's not going to disappear. So if you've got more questions, hold on to them. We'll come back at the end and do a whole bunch of questions kind of at the end. Thanks, Megan. You're not leaving us, right? All right. Okay. Gosh, I feel like we could just keep going and going and going and going. And we've got a lot more wisdom here. So Tommy, why don't you come up here? I'll move down.
You come up, huh?
You're up.
All right. Don't laugh if I fall out of this chair. I'm used to having a beard and I'm sitting on a stool this side. Just kidding.
No, you're awesome. Thanks for being here. I really enjoyed talking with you because Tommy has this down home, I'm going to get it done mentality, and you do. You've done a great job building out your business, and I'm really excited. So tell us a little bit about what your business looks like. How long you've been in the business? What's it currently look like? Tell us the Tommy Burdett story.
The Tommy Burdett story in a nutshell. So been in real estate about 5 years now. Started a team with Keller Williams about a year ago, I guess. Have a partner, have about 7 agents now, or 7 licensed agents in the building. We have admin. For me, I know when I started my team, not put the cart before the horse. Once I started doing a lot, like Megan said, 50, 60, 70 transactions, life started to get miserable. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go out and find a hot assistant. So I hired my wife. She came in and she's helped the team out incredibly. We did, I don't know, 160, 170 units this year, somewhere around 40 million. Again, we do things different than a lot of people. We're go-getters. We don't have buying agents. We don't have listing agents. We have real estate agents. Go buy, go sell. Let's all get it figured out. Took off kind of quick, and now we're starting to plug into the KW model, and it's working.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about on the list side. So everybody that works within your group can list, right? So tell us a little bit about right now, what do you think is the most important thing when you go out to talk to a seller right now? What are the things you're focusing on in your meeting with the seller?
So when I'm meeting with a seller, the first thing I always pitch or focus on when I'm speaking with them is, hey, listen, we got a team of 7 agents who, when you hire me, you hire our whole team. And we're all hungry. We're all buying agents. We're all selling agents. So when you get us, you get the whole squad, and we're all gonna work hard to sell your home.
Okay, so what part of your value proposition is that there's a group of you
Correct.
on there? When you look at, when you meet with a seller, what do you take with you? What do you take to your listing appointment? Do you take marketing examples? Do you take the listing kind of, like, what are the tools that you bring with you on your appointment?
Yeah, so I know my team's back at the office watching. They're probably all laughing right now, going, "Don't say it, don't say it." So it's kind of funny, right? When I first started, I was always focused on this big listing presentation. I mean, I walk in with a folder this tall, and I'm gonna tell them this, I'm gonna go over this, and da da da. And for me, what I found is that when you come in with that stack, you're almost saying that, "Hey, I'm here for an interview." So now I come in empty-handed. I may have printed off a couple comps. I've already done my homework on the property. So, when I go in, I'm not going in for an interview with other agents. I'm going in to sign the paper and tell you when I'm selling your house for. So I don't really bring a lot of material. I bring my personality, couple comps, and we're on the Boomtown platform. So if I really need to pull out the secret weapon, I'll pull out my phone and say, "Have you ever seen anything like this? When we list your property, this is what happens. Look at that guy, second view in 24 hours, third view in 3 minutes." Usually people are like, "Wow," so nothing fancy.
Okay, so what's your primary source of seller leads right now?
Probably honestly, social media and organic. I mean, I'm a big organic guy, and I'm one of them guys that, some people are against it, some people aren't, but when I sell somebody's house, it's going on Facebook. It was funny because in the beginning, I was so scared to ask, "You want to get on Facebook with me? Want to take a picture with me?" Now it's every time I go to a settlement, they're all done up to the nines, like, "Hey, are we taking our picture? We're taking our picture." So social media has helped me quite a bit. Boomtown's okay. Boomtown's more of a buyer lead source, if you ask me, but just organically, kind of like Megan said, between you and her, you guys took everything. So I'm up here fumbling right now.
No, you're not.
No,
This is your story.
I'm just kidding. So I got, we do billboards, we do little league teams, we do soccer teams, we do, a ton of advertising, but I'd say the majority of it is social media.
So I follow you on Facebook, and you've got it, but so tell us when you talk about social media, what do you post on? What are you posting?
So what I'm posting is to attract a lot of buyers. Honestly, I tell their story. So if you've seen it, when I post them out on Facebook, it's not just like, "Hey, look at them, they bought a house." I like to try to tell a little bit of their story because they want their story to be told. So, if it's a first time home buyer, maybe they're the first person that's ever bought a home in their family. I tell a little bit of that story. That's what I put out there. I try to not involve me as much, but in the end, I might say, "Here's my number, call me." But some of the joy on these people's faces selling a home and buying a home attracts other people, because I promise you, every time I put one up there, I get 15, 20 inbox messages. "Hey, they bought a home. Can I buy a home?" "Well, absolutely." "Hey, they sold their home. What kind of profit could I get if I sold my home?" So I kind of let social media do the work.
Do you have a professional Facebook page that you post all your professional stuff on, and a personal one that's personal, or do you mix them together?
So I have two. I do not put personal stuff on my business page, but I will put business stuff on my personal page, kind of like the 80-20 rule, right? So I try to give 80% of what I'm doing in my life every day, and then the other 20% is kind of business driven. Sometimes it gets flip flopped, but no, I won't put any personal stuff on my business page, but vice versa, I will. So we have a director of marketing on our team. She's awesome. She takes care of a lot of the Facebook stuff that most folks see, but sometimes I jump in because I just can't help myself.
When you meet somebody, a prospect, or you meet a client, do you friend them on Facebook on your personal page?
That's a tough question. Not in the first 3 days. I want to make sure we're going to get along. But yeah, usually I do. And to be honest with you, most of them that come to me, I'm already friends with. But yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will go in, I will friend them. And the reason I do that, again, it's another little secret strategy, is that when I do a closing and, I post it on social media, if it gets 300, 400, 500 likes, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm checking to see, because it'll say friend, not friend, add friend. So I go in there, and if it says add friend, I'm adding friends.
Okay.
constantly. And then that just opens up the whole, it opens up Pandora's box.
Do you worry about what you put on your personal page so that clients might not see it? Like, do you have this filter that goes, oh, I'm not gonna put that on because my clients might see it? Do you ever worry about clients seeing, you're away for the weekend and maybe they're worried that you're not working on their house? Like, do you think about any of that, or does it not matter?
I think about it a lot more now than I did, and I don't do anything crazy. Yes, I have a filter now. It's a lot better now. People always joke, man, you're on vacation again, but what they don't know is in real estate, there is no vacation. And some people say, no, don't say that, but I always answer my phone. If I'm wherever I'm at, it doesn't matter. I only go away for 3 days at a time. And I will answer my phone all the time.
It's interesting, Matt Chance, who is our attorney partner in our title company, we were talking about that this morning and about how we grew our businesses. And we both said the exact same thing. We answer our phone, right? We answer our phone. And I think, that's what's helped Matt build out a sales company so big, is he takes the calls, right? They're 7 days a week, 24/7. Some people go, well, you never have time off. And, and we were talking about our kids in there. My kids will never know a time where we didn't stop and answer the phone. But at the same time, I wasn't sitting in a cubicle working somewhere Monday and Friday 9 to 5. I just sat 6 hours on the beach with them, and I took 30 minutes worth of phone calls, but it paid for the beach, right? So I look at it and say, my clients are the sale of their home is their biggest deal, right? Or our agents in our offices, they need that advice to get a deal closed. Do I mind answering the phone? I don't. I answer my phone on there. And some people go, well, you never shut it off. We've been out with friends who've said, you never turn it off. I'm like, well, you're right, I don't. And I really don't get that many calls, but you do. You kind of condense yours into your workday into a cubicle. Mine just kind of spreads out into the evenings and weekends, and it doesn't bother me. And I one of the things I think this is true, and this is what I'm trying to pull out of you a little bit, is that real estate when you sell more, when you start to sell probably 36 homes or more a year, real estate kind of just becomes part of your life. It's not the job that you do. It's just part of what you do, right? And so you're out on a Friday night and you know that your client is really nervous. You see them call, it's like, if I spend 3 minutes with them, I can calm them down, make them feel better, and they're gonna be thrilled. And then I get repeat business and referrals. If I ignore it, it's gonna build up and become a bigger problem, and it's just easier to attack it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a commercial on TV. I don't know if you saw it, but it's kind of all of our team. And, they call me the racing realtor. I'm driving a race car down the track. My phone rings. I stop in the middle of a race. Hello, this is the racing realtor. Other people on the team, they all kind of do the same thing. So one thing everybody says is, man, that guy answers his phone. Always.
So, okay, so this is kind of the pinnacle of the social media part that I wanted to get to. When I follow you, you are showing that you're out at races or you're camping and stuff like that. Do you feel like that helps for your clients to see it, or does it hurt?
That's a good question.
I got a good question.
I think, yeah, you do. That one wasn't on the list you sent me.
No. So I told you, I'm like, throw the list away, because I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna talk
I
about.
think
what I wanna talk
honestly,
about.
I gotta stay true to myself and say, I don't think it hurts me, because I think everybody knows that I will answer my phone. And when you see reviews on me, you can go on Zillow, you can go anywhere and look at my reviews, and all of them say the same thing. That guy answers his phone. I had one recently. I don't know if it was a Zillow review or Google maybe, but I put something up and the guy chimed in and said, listen, I accidentally called Tommy at 3 a.m. and he answered the phone. And I do, because when my phone rings at 3 a.m, I'm like, oh man, something's bad, right? And then it's a client. I'm like, must be bad, and I answer it, and people are like, I was trying to leave you a voicemail. Sorry, did I wake you up? And I'm like, look, I'm here for you guys. If you're telling me it's an emergency, let's figure it out. So I don't know. I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts. People know.
Well, one of the things that I like the most about your social media and watching you is I feel like you're really relatable, right? There's Tommy in mud and dirt going out on a race and just doing his thing, and you're just living your life and serving your clients. I just feel like there's people that sit at home and go like, yeah, you're not unrelatable to me, right? You're not showing up in the big Mercedes and doing your thing where I can't relate. This is just Tommy, right? And that's kind of you're like, oh, wow. Last time, I only sit on stools when I'm drinking a beer. Like you're just, I think one of the things that drives your business is your clients just relate to you.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it means a lot because I think you're just open and transparent and relatable.
Very true.
And that's part of it. Right now, when you think about working with sellers, what's one or two things that you think that you do well or your team does well that gets you repeat business and referrals? Or, what do you do that adds value? What sets you apart?
So, the way we take care of our people, one of the mottos at Delmarva Home Team is, we'll figure it out, family oriented. So, to piggyback off of what you were saying, I think the biggest thing we bring in is that family. That's what it feels like. It doesn't, we don't come in with the, big cars and all that, and people can relate to it, So when we come in, they're like, man, I'm not dealing with a real estate agent right here. I'm dealing with a family member. I think they feel that, right off the bat, and it's something that we instill in our team, and that's how we train our team to, approach these sellers. So it's kind of a family core, family. Hey, oh, my house isn't ready for pictures. I gotta cut the grass. Well, cool. I brought my grass cutter with me. You know what I mean? Let's cut the grass. So that's kind of the value that I think we bring to a lot of our sellers.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I was just thinking, what's Megan's slogan? Don't get taken. What? Oh, call.
Don't get taken, call Team Aiken. We added team now.
Yeah, it's in the back of my mind, Megan. Like it's rolling through. It's like, but that's kind of like what you're known
Help
for, right?
make like a rap, Matt. That would be really cool. Can you
I love
rap?
it. Yeah, don't get taken. List with Aiken. Right, like I got this whole little thing right back. But right, so and what Megan said was, we're the Chick-fil-A of real estate. Tommy's kind of like, I'm your hometown guy. Like I'm your family, and I'm just gonna like there is this persona that is part of building out your real estate business that shines through, right? There are people that will list with Tommy that would never list with me, right? There are people that would list with Megan that would never list with me. There's people that list with me but wouldn't list with him, right? So what is so great about this business is it's what you want it to be, right? You get to create it.
Sure. Can I tell a story real
You
quick?
can.
It's super quick. So again, my team is probably, oh God, it's gonna say it. So I don't do a lot of beach stuff, but I enjoy coming to the beach and working, of course. So anyhow, I get this listing appointment, right? And I go in and I'm literally sitting in a little gorgeous house, right? I'm like, oh man, this is awesome, right? And so we're chatting. I think everything's going good. And she goes, hey, you don't strike me as a $600,000 listing agent. I was like, oh, okay, well. Why is that? Well, you're different than all the other ones. Of course, me and I needs that word. But I said, well, I'm sitting in your living room. So, we're having this conversation. Oddly enough, my commercial comes on the TV. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. She turns around, she's on the TV. I was like, is that what a $600,000 listing agent looks like? And anyhow, so it's kind of funny. Got the listing, sold it for cash, multiple offers in like 24 hours or less. And she came back, she said, look, I just want to apologize. I'm not sure what a $600,000 listing agent is supposed to look like, but the way you made us feel like family is something she told everybody. And then again, so that's how I started getting more listings,
So tell us about your commission objection handler, right?
Okay.
Tommy knows what he wants to charge and somebody wants you to offer for less. What's an objection handler? How do you overcome commission objections?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the person. So, for me, if I'm really getting beat up, and like you said earlier, in today's market, you don't walk out of there without a listing, right? So one of the things that I say, right, wrong, or indifferent is, hey, one thing I can offer you is that, if this guy's going to do it for 4%, if I get buyer and seller, I'll do it for 4%. And surely that's going to motivate me to work extra hard for you. And they go, oh yeah. And then there's like, all right, well, fine, 5% it is, and go get that buyer. We all know chances are of double ending it. Kind of slim, right? So, that's one way to get past it. And the other way is, I just tell people, not in these exact words, but hey, I think Megan might have said earlier, you don't strike me as a discount person, and this certainly doesn't strike me as a discount home. So I'm not sure why you would want to discount my services, and you kind of get what you pay for. There's tons of objections out there, but again, I think it was covered earlier. When I go in, I kind of already know, and they do too. You know what I mean? Honestly, I think I've lost 2 listings in the last year, and both of them were because they wanted to list for an outrageous price, and I was just like, yeah, I can't do that. And as soon as they list with somebody else, I'm on it every single day and it sells for that price. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, in this market, I'm just telling you, you're gonna
It's
hear from
true.
agents that sell a lot of homes. We have no idea what the value is.
And I tell people that.
I do too, Tommy. I tell sellers right now, when I sit down with them, look, here's the range that I think it's worth. But I have to be honest with you, I have no idea, because in this market, there are unicorns,
Yeah.
right? You know, in 80% of the markets that we work in, there are no unicorns, right? The house is worth what the house is worth. But now you have people, you have buyers who have not been able to buy, who've not been able to buy a home for years. And mom and dad are saying, we'll step in and pay cash for it. This is, you know, this is like, we'll just give it to you because I gotta get my kids in the school district and they're unicorns. There are unicorns in this market that you would just never think of. So that's why I'm telling you, don't lose a listing over price. Just don't
Because it
do
will sell,
Yeah.
especially right now. You know, there's tons of objections to that, but you know, one of the things that I teach a lot of my guys too is, you know, the math simple. If you don't sell a house for 4%, what does the seller make? If the seller doesn't sell the house at 4%, what does the seller make?
Yeah.
Nothing,
Zero.
right? And that's what I tell the seller, you know, and I'm like, look, you know, this percent of zero is zero. If I sell your house at 5%, you know, and then we go into the whole profit thing. Normally, commission doesn't come up for me because I say, look, I've already done my homework before I got there. You know, how much do you want to make? How much you want to walk away with? And typically they'll say, well, I want to make $50,000. Okay, well, if in your mind you're thinking, well, geez, I mean, you could make 80 on that from what I'm doing. They don't want to talk about commission anymore. They want to say, how quick can you sell my house?
Yeah.
So
All right, any questions for Tommy?
Yeah, question was, what is your process for getting online reviews?
I do a lot with Zillow. I don't buy a lot of Zillow ads, but Zillow will allow you to go on there and do a profile and get reviewed. I do a lot of Zillow stuff because let's be honest, that's where everybody's looking. I don't like it. I know a lot of agents don't like it, but that's where they're at. And let's be honest, when somebody is calling you in for a listing appointment, right? They've already done their homework on you. So typically they're going to Zillow and do that. So that's what I do most of the time. I do a little bit of social media.
Awesome. Anything else?
Couple comments, they love the commercials.
Yeah.
They love the commercials.
They're fun.
They are fun. Wait, you see the next one. We're not skydiving. That's already been brought up. You know, you answer your phone while you're skydiving. I don't know about skydiving.
Well, something that they've done is not only have they kind of coined their team, you know, with a brand, but every agent on their team has their own niche and
Yeah.
own slogan, own tag, right? He's the racing realtor, he's the home run realtor, and right, so each one of them has kind of coined something, and so like in their commercial, they're kind of highlighting like their little specialty. So people relate, you know,
That
to you
goes
in that
back to what
regard.
you were saying, you know, not to get long-winded, but not too long ago, I thought, man, I like the drag race and I love real estate. Now, how can I ever put them two things together? And then one day I was talking to a client and I was like, hey, listen, I promise you, I'll get you to the finish line. And I was like, I gotta go. She's like, is everything okay? I was like, no, I gotta go. And then we started the racing realtor, and then, you know, I got a partner, Steve, he's big into baseball, so we kind of coined him the home run realtor, the Real Roses, they play music, so that's that down home.
Awesome. All right, don't go too far. Don't disappear because we're gonna get some more questions at the end.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. Next up, come on, Aaron.
I'm so not a one-on-one in person.
That's all right. We're gonna have fun.
Okay.
Aaron's nervous. Are you
I'm
nervous?
incredibly.
Why?
I don't know. I just am.
We're just all friends hanging out.
I know. I love you.
Yeah,
No, not at all. I feel like I own it.
of course you do, because you do own it.
Yeah.
All right, so Miss Erin Lee, give us your little bit of background, how you've been in real estate, what's your business look like? Tell us the Erin Lee story.
The Erin Lee story. So I got in about 7.5 years ago. I'm KW all the way. Started out on a very small team, just my brother and me. Got some courage and branched off on my own, and I've been doing my own thing, I think 4 years now, 4 years. I have a cyberbacker, So she's my one admin.
What the heck is a cyberbacker?
Oh, gosh. So Cyberbacker was started by Craig Goodliffe. He's a mega agent with KW. And they're, I think they're all in the Philippines, I think. Anyway, they're Philippine based. They all work the graveyard shift so that they can be there for us during regular work hours.
So it's a virtual assistant.
I'm sorry, a virtual assistant.
Okay,
And they can do anything you want them to do. So mine, I needed transaction coordination and I needed some social media assistance, some marketing help. And now she's starting to do so much. She's incredible. I wish I could have her right here. She does a lot of calling for me now too. So I made sure when I hired her that she was very fluent in English, that her speaking skills and her writing skills were good. And we're having her do some actual client contact now, calling people and.
So it's you and her.
fun, just me and her.
all right. And so what's your assistant's name?
Assistant is Abby,
All right, so Aaron and Abby,
Erin and Abby.
and Abby's in the Philippines,
She is.
and Aaron's here.
And nobody, yeah, and it's funny because I was worried about the Philippine, her there, and would clients like that or go with that? They don't care. As
Yeah.
long as you're providing the service, they just don't care.
Yeah. So tell us about your business. How many homes did you sell last year?
Last year did 84 homes, 47 were listings, so a little bit heavier on the listing side, but not much. The year before I did 104. So last year I had a little bit of a slump between July and August. I was getting burned out, so I needed a break. But that's the beauty of the business, is you can take that break.
So you're a solo agent that does between 80 and 100 homes a year.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
pretty awesome.
I
With
think
one
so.
assistant who's not even here.
Who's not even here.
All right,
But it feels like she's here because she's amazing.
okay. So how the heck do you sell that many? And how many years in the business?
7.5, started in July of 2014.
Okay, and how many years by yourself away from your brother?
5.
Okay, so
4 or 5.
in 5 years, you've built up 100 home a year business, solo agent, working hard.
Yeah.
How the heck did you do that?
So when I left the team, I knew that when you erase, you must replace, right? Good rule. So I used the monies that I was splitting in commissions and hired myself a maps coach. And
What the heck's a maps coach? Does it teach you how to, is it like geography?
Advertisement for.
Teach you how to read a map?
Yes, she makes the map. I follow it. So maps coaching is available through Keller Williams. I'm in transformation coaching, which works more on mindset, less on, I guess, the mechanics of business, and staying in the game and limiting beliefs and all that good stuff that I'm dealing with right now, being shaky. Yeah, so my maps coach, Melanie Peters, she's down in Mississippi, and we have a 1-hour call once a week. And we talk about goals, and we talk about, did we meet those goals? Why didn't we meet those goals? Work in progress, but
Sure.
yeah.
So you said, okay, I'm gonna use the money that I'm making on my deals that I was sharing with the team to invest in myself,
Mhm.
hire a coach
Mhm.
that coach you on how to build up your business. Let's talk about your listing side.
Yeah.
Do you have a niche or a specialty or a geographical farm or something that you really focus on?
Yes, and this is the first year that so my coach sends me a whole Google spreadsheet, lots of spreadsheets for planning for the year. And one of them is business sourcing and where your business came from for the year. This was the first year where I thought I really need to break all of those documents she gave me into 2 copies of each one, because I have the niche market, but I'd also like to kind of break out of that niche market into something different. So the niche market is leased land manufactured homes.
Okay, say that one more time.
Leased land, manufactured homes.
Got it.
Not trailers, thank you very much, not mobiles, just manufactured
Well,
homes.
did they come there on a trailer?
No, they came in on their own wheels and axles, they're amazing. They're
Got it.
built on a chassis, they're
Okay.
great. You can't trail them anywhere, so they're not trailers.
Got it.
Right?
So you can't take them camping.
You can't take them camping, you
Okay.
can camp in your yard with them. Yeah, you don't want to move them, it's very bad for them. Yeah, so my business started in that because that's what my team was doing when I started. So my sphere kind of grew around that niche, and that's what I'm known for. So when I walk into a listing appointment, I usually have it before I walk in the door. We don't talk about commissions. We don't really talk about much of anything because they know me as being the leased land person.
So how did you build that reputation? Like what, on day one, you didn't start
didn't
there, right?
No.
So how did you build up a reputation and how do you maintain it? Like,
Right.
how does that happen?
You just, well, you keep doing it, you talk about it. I do a lot of social media marketing and a lot of social media interacting. It's not even, it is marketing, but it's secret marketing. It's like ninja marketing. You friend everybody, anybody that you come in contact with, you make sure you friend request them. You actively.
So on your
participate.
personal page or on your business page?
Personal page.
Okay, so
And I have
personal
about-
Aaron Lee page,
Yeah,
you're friending prospects, sellers, you're probably,
Yeah.
you're friending them all.
right. Because, yeah, and I'm interacting on their pages. So you don't want to just friend them and let them sit there. You want to friend them and then actually take an interest in them, because that's what a friend does, right? So by interacting with them, I know that Facebook's algorithm is going to reward me by putting my stuff on their page from time to time. So they're seeing what I'm doing. I have to be confident that they're seeing my activity.
And so the activity you put on your personal page, is it all business on a personal page, or is it personal stuff on a personal page? What the heck are you putting on there?
It's a lot of cats.
It's a lot of tats.
I didn't become a cat theory on purpose. Yeah. So, yeah, I post, we have 2 kittens at home now. So I post pictures of kittens. I post pictures of my kids. I post pictures of whatever it is I went to do that day. My home is in Washington County, Maryland, and there's beautiful mountains out there. So when we go hiking, we'll take pictures of that. So they get to see the real Erin. And when I show up in their house, I'm that same person that they saw on social media. And I'll talk about my cats.
Got it. So let's talk about your sellers. So if you thought back on the last 5, 6, 7 sellers you had, how did they get to you?
Oh, that's a good one. So the majority of my business is past clients who've already worked with me.
Okay,
The second highest group would be people they refer me to. So they're people I know.
so when you're starting out 5 years ago, you don't have past clients to help, and you don't have past clients to refer you out. How do you get some inbound traction in the beginning?
Right. That I will say I was a little blessed in the beginning, because by being on that team, and I was with somebody who doesn't love being forward facing with clients. He was very IT heavy, very tech heavy, and I was the buyer's agent. I was the listing. I was the one who was going out and meeting people. So I had a lead source,
Okay,
coming to me, but it's what you do with those leads. My coach said that I have this ability to find a thread in somebody and follow that thread until there's commonality and build a relationship around it.
got it.
So I think it's talking to everybody, it's sharing with everybody. Sometimes it's oversharing.
Well, this year you said you want to start building your business outside your niche.
Mhm.
So how are you going to do that?
It's a little hard. So we've been doing golden letter campaigns.
What the heck is a golden letter?
I love golden letters. So golden letters, and there are lots of examples online, but it's basically that you write physical letters. You can handwrite them, you can type them. I sign all of them, so they do have some ink on them. Address them by hand, so they look like a person actually did that. Identify a farm or a neighborhood or whatever that you want to go after. If you legitimately have buyers for that neighborhood, it's even better, because the letter says I have buyers for your home. So I go after the neighborhoods where I've had people lose in multiple offer situations. And then I can, then it's honest. I really do have buyers who are interested in your home. They were outbid. Would you be interested in selling your home? And they're short and sweet letters, and I get calls back on them. So we send out about 350, and I'll get about maybe 3 or 4 phone calls.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you target a specific area.
Mhm.
One of the things I want to just share about golden letters, which I think are critical in this market, right? If you are just sitting around waiting and hoping that a seller is going to call you, you're 2 days behind. And I agree with you. Just saying, any agent can send out a letter that says, we've got buyers for your neighborhood. If you can make it personal, I can tell you that my team last week sent out a letter to a very specific neighborhood. We actually put the picture of the family that wants to be in there. And we said, hi, meet the Smiths. They are waiting to buy in your neighborhood. They would like to, settle anytime between March and August of this year. If you are thinking about selling between March and August and you don't want to have to go on the market, you don't have to go through showings, call me. Boom.
Yeah.
got a call and they said, yep, we want to settle, but we don't want to sell till June and we need somewhere to go, but we don't know where we're going to go yet. And that's why we haven't listed. They're like, help us find something. Once you find us something we can sell. Right. So now we've got actually 3 transactions in the process of it where they want to go. We're sending a golden letter out. Right. So in this market right now, you have got to own the result. You have got to go and look for it. You cannot sit back and hope that somebody's going to call you. So I'm so glad that you brought that example up on there.
To Tommy's point too, it's personalizing that story. So when he posts a closing online and it tells the little story about, you know, Jim and Sandy and they wanted a house for so many years and now they're in it. In the golden letter, the more information you put in there about your family's really, oh my gosh, they've been looking for a long time. This is the perfect neighborhood. The community was beautiful. They fell in love with it and then they lost. So, you know,
Yeah.
so if you can connect with somebody kind of at the heart level.
In my primary market now, in the average sales price points, we're still seeing 60, 70, 80 showings in a 4-day weekend. We're still seeing 15, 20, 25 offers coming up on some of those average sales prices. I mean, it's still overwhelming. And when people say, well, what's the market going to do? When's that going to go away? I'm like, if there were 25 people that made an offer and only one got it, this market doesn't change until those 24 people get homes.
Right.
Right? Like, that's why I say we are so far behind in the number of available homes for the big pool of buyers. You know, that's our problem, right?
Right.
So when you go out on a listing appointment, what do you take with you? What's in Aaron's
2 things.
briefcase or backpack?
My backpack. So I like the MLS CMA, just the basic one, and I'll pull it up for the entire neighborhood. And if I don't find anything right in there, it'll go outside a little bit. Because there's some good stuff in that packet that just comes standardly. There's some data from NAR. There's a graph that shows a big blob that tapers off. And that's a really good visual for people that if we don't price it right from the very beginning, that blob represents people who are already on the market. They're already looking, they're already with agents, they're already getting listing alerts from realtor.com or Zillow or whatever else. And at the peak of that graph is about day 8. So I tell the people, if you've made it to day 8 and you haven't gotten any offers or showings on your home yet, you know there's a problem because all these motivated people who've probably been outbid already, you know, they haven't bid, so something's wrong. And we can still wait until there's like little people entering the market. And you'll see on that graph, it goes up, it goes down, and it tapers. I said, we don't want to be here waiting for these new people who don't understand the frustrations of the market. We want to attract this blob. So that helps a lot with.
So that's the one right out of Bright. You use the Bright CMA.
Right out of Bright. There's that one. There's another graphic that shows the perceived value of a home. If you price it too high and it sits on the market for a long time, you know, the perceived value goes down because the whole, what's wrong with it? Why did the other people back out of it? The stigmatized property. So I think it gives you some really good visuals to use. I like that. We don't look so much at, I mean, we look at days on market, we look at what things are selling for, we compare bedrooms and bathrooms and that, but you kind of get a feel, and like you were saying, just get the listing and don't rely on the past sales, because that's what somebody was willing to pay before. We don't know what it's going to be now, and with multiple offers, it's driving the prices up anyway. So.
And you said you don't struggle with commission conversations,
No.
commission handlers?
Not with the lease land, but with the traditional homes, I guess, or traditional ownership. That's a more competitive market because there's more of you in that market. There's fewer people doing lease land. So in that one, I'm willing to take a little bit less because I want to get my foot in the door. So back in November, I was sitting in a room of top 100 Gary Keller individual agents. That was incredible to be surrounded by that talent. And Gary Keller himself said, get the listing. He said, I don't care what you do to get the listing, get the listing. He said, you get that listing, you put your name in the front yard, market the hell out of it. You know, send the postcards, circle prospect, get the listing. So, you know, I did that with one. I took a lower side on my side and offered, I think we offered 2.5% on the buyer side. I was willing to do that because it was getting me into a market I wouldn't have been in otherwise.
So I'm a big fan of that. So what you just said, if you have to take a lower commission for whatever reason, you still need to co-op out what is perceived as what most agents are offering, right? If you can't negotiate higher enough, you got to take the slice on your side. because you don't want to send a signal out to the market that commissions, that there's a new commission rate coming down. And additionally, if I ever take anything below 5%, because I want to get into a neighborhood and I'm going to use it as a launching point, I make these sellers sign a non-disclosure that they cannot disclose to anybody the commission rate that they charge, that I charge, because I don't want them bragging to all their neighbors, oh, Matt took it for 4.5%, because that's not my value proposition. I did it as a marketing decision for myself. So we put a clause in there that says seller agrees not to disclose the commission charged by the listing agent to anybody not a party to the contract. Right, and we just put it in there. We just say, I'm gonna do it for you because, and so I say the exact same thing there. I would like to get my foot in the door in your neighborhood, so I'm gonna use this to launch my presence in your neighborhood. So I'm gonna do this as a marketing expense, not because I'm devaluing my time. And I explain it to them because I don't want them to think that I'm willing to work for less. I'm just trading dollars. Instead of spending $2,000 on a direct mail campaign, I'm taking $2,000 less to get my foot in the door. Right, so I just think that through a little bit on there is to be really cautious that I don't discount my commissions ever. I just don't discount my commissions, but I might give you a marketing credit back because I want to get my sign in that yard, right? So the language matters.
Right, it's
So-
an investment in you, and that's
Yeah.
what I told the agent the client that I had done that for was, this is an investment in me and my business, and I'm willing to pay that up front so that I can get into your neighborhood.
Awesome.
But I don't want to be perceived as a discount lister.
Yeah.
So, we're not gonna talk about this, and she understood.
Yeah, good job.
And I got that right from you, because Bridget shared that with me.
All right, Bridget, what questions are in there for Eric?
Okay, do you have a follow-up process after sending the golden letters to your farm?
We have a second golden letter that goes out. So we do the first golden letter, and whether or not we get a response, if we do get the response, then yeah, we'll send it again. But if we get the listing, we'll take them off the list. But there's this follow-up golden letter that says, I'm sure you saw my letter last month, Jim and Sandy are still looking for a home. Have you heard of any of your neighbors who are willing to sell, or have you thought about it? And that time I send one sheet from the MLS. It's like one page of the CMA that just shows the actives and the solds and all of that. So it gives them a little bit more data.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll follow up.
Also, who is prepping your 350 letters that you send a month and hand addressing them?
Child labor all the way. So, yeah. So my daughter, I have a daughter who's 22. She's working on a PhD. Yeah. Which is crazy, and she needs extra spending money. So Abby creates the letters in the Philippines, sends the PDF to Katie. Katie prints them off at WVU and puts them all in envelopes and addresses them and mails them.
Good, that's pretty awesome.
Right?
That's
So
all,
they're getting
talking about
it.
international business.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
everywhere.
Eric's got
right?
an typed in the Philippines, sent to, where's West Virginia?
West Virginia.
And sent to West Virginia, printed in mail. Awesome.
Isn't that great?
It's really
It's
cool.
great. And she gets paid, depending if it's, yeah. Compensate her for her time.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Question, are you paying her by the hour or by the letter?
Oh, my daughter, I reimburse her for all of her expenses and then hourly. So she gets,
She probably gets a special daughter rate.
well, yeah, and she gets some
Lemon
tuition
cereal.
too.
There was also a question about the graph that I think you referenced maybe from Bright
I love
MLS.
that one,
Is
yeah,
it under the,
it's in the
on the homepage or under
CMA, so,
market?
yeah, if you just run a little CMA on some neighborhood, click the CMA button at the bottom, I can't remember the title of it.
It says CMA.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you select all the comps and then you either print, email, and one says create CMA,
yeah.
it's one of the standard things you can add in or take out of there.
It's such a good visual, and I'm not a fan of scripts. I was talking to Logan, we were talking about scripts. I said, as long, I do use scripts. We all use scripts because you move into this saying the same thing all the time, that's my script. But my script is that there's a blob, and the blob of people are already looking, and they've already been outbid, and they're motivated, and that's who we want to attract. So I love that graph because it's just easy. Yeah,
All right, Aaron, you're awesome.
is that fun?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Are you still nervous?
Yes.
No.
I know what my son's gonna be doing in Morgantown now.
All right, Mr. Griffin, come on. I officially have nothing.
Yes.
You officially have lots. Russ runs one of the most fine-tuned machines out there. And I could talk about the Griffin Higgins team all day long, because it really is a phenomenal business. So
Work in progress.
give us, yeah, we all are, right?
Yeah.
Give us the history. How long have you been in the business?
Got my license in 2009, joined forces with Ed in 2014. We now currently have 30 agents, 7 admin, and we do Kent County, Sussex County, and Maryland. We have an office in Cambridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a big machine.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
It is.
But even though you've got a big sales team, it's still one seller, one agent at a time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it's, you're just doing a higher volume, but I would say that most of the things that you do, the average agent can do, right?
Yes.
The single agent. So let's start. So how many homes did you sell last year?
Total 530. We did 267 listings. We sold 272 for the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you took 267 listings.
Yes.
So
Not just me, our team. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on your team, do you specialize between buyers, agents, and listing, or can anybody take the listing?
We do not. I'm kind of like Tommy, I guess, because I didn't know any better. I always thought when you're a realtor, like you can do both. So I never really learned that until I saw some bigger teams doing it the other way. But I think in our case, it really works because everybody has their sphere and everybody has the people that like and know and trust them. So they do bring in listings too. So I mean, we even have brand new agents that will bring listings that I never would have got, probably. So what we do is we make it so easy for them that they can, 1, win the listings, and then 2, our support staff is going to do everything for our agents that they're going to do for me. And then we just run through the whole process.
Do you have a standardized listing appointment that everybody on your team is trained in, that everybody does it the same way?
Not necessarily, because everybody's business comes in different ways. We do have a marketing email that goes out 2 days before, if we can get it out, and that sets the tone for what we do as a team. So me personally, when I go to a listing appointment, I'm kind of like Tommy. I'm there to take the listing and talk to you about what your needs are. I'm not there to interview. I mean, I am, but I don't feel like I'm there to interview for the job. I feel like you've seen what we do, and we immediately just jump into the conversation. Where are you going? What's going on? And we talk about that. So I really don't talk about marketing hardly at all, because a lot of my businesses all come with me. Like, just, I know you, I like you, trust you, or I heard from a friend, and this is what we want to do.
So what do you take on a listing appointment?
Nothing usually, because I don't usually give people numbers at the table. I don't even go through comps at the table. I bring my iPad. Well, I bring my iPad. I walk through the house with them. I write things on my iPad. I never look at them again. I just keep them in my mind, but it's like I'm paying attention to what they're telling me, and I write all the things there. And then after the fact, I either have a real good idea of where the market is in the area, and I can give them a number or a range. And then, or what we do is we say, next Tuesday after our meeting, we're going to go on tour. Any house that we're potentially going to list, I'd like to bring all my agents through. We're going to take a look at it. We'll talk about it, and we'll come up with a price. I don't want to give you a price on the spot. So what we do is the next Tuesday, we'll go on a tour. We'll all go through. I'll ask everybody, and all these agents on my team are working buyers, one. So we're getting them in there, getting the agents in there to see the house before it goes on the market. But the second thing is they're giving me their opinion. Hey, I just sold this house, down the street. I think you can get a little bit more than what I was thinking. So just opens up for 12 or 14 people to give their opinion. Usually when we walk in there with 12 or 14 people, if I haven't already won the listing, they're not calling anybody else.
So when do you have them sign a listing contract?
It depends. Sometimes after, the agents walk through, or whenever they're comfortable doing it. I bring disclosures. That's wrong. I bring the disclosures, and I say, no matter who you work with, you're gonna have to fill these out. but I don't push them. I just literally put them on the table. We have our conversation, and then usually I'm trying to set that. Either they say, let's get it rolling, let's get photography going, or I say, okay, let me get the agents through, and we'll give you a opinion value.
Okay.
Yeah.
What percent of your listings do you actually end up doing that process through, where you get your agents through on Tuesday? Half of them?
Well,
Most of them?
probably half.
Okay.
It depends, you know, Cambridge is not built out where we have enough agents and enough listings yet where we're actively going out to do it. It's more on the Western Sussex side, because we have a lot of listings there. I do have a lot of new construction listings, so that is something that I don't have to pitch every time. And that's been amazing for me, because now I'm trying to wean off of one-off listings and just deal with the people that have repeat business to me, and then my agents will take care of the others. So,
Okay.
yeah.
It's, you know, it's just interesting if you think about it. We have 4 highly successful agents that all do it really differently, right? And so what's really cool about it is there's not a secret sauce, there's not a magic pill, right? Megan sends out a pre-listing questionnaire and gets a bunch of information ahead of time. You bring your agents that come through. Dominic shows up and doesn't bring anything. He just assumes he's going to get it, and you're going to sign it, right? Aaron, if you think about, everyone's got kind of their own personality behind it. What do you think is the value proposition when you talk to a seller? What is the value proposition of hiring you to sell their home? What makes you stand out?
Well, my team, because I know in real estate now, one person, well, Aaron, you probably exemplify this more than anybody, but it's hard for one person to do everything. So like, if I could never do the volume that I do when I have to go back and enter things in the MLS and do all these things. So eventually got to the point where it's like, I'm good at having conversations, going there, telling them value, knowing the market, but I'm not really good at all the rest of the stuff. So I've got Olivia, who's my listing coordinator, that does an amazing job, and every listing is so thorough, and the photography is good. It's edited. They fly the drone. They do video. Like, marketing goes on. So I mean, when I go in there, I say, like, you get me, but you get all this other things. So, and it's just, and I explain to them that it's very difficult, and I sound bad, but it's very difficult for a single agent to do it all. And but a single agent can then go in there. If you're a listing agent, you can say, hey, you're going to get me. You're not getting 10 other people. So you can play it both ways, I think.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So I'm sure a lot of the agents that are participating today are solo agents. Yeah, but I don't have that value proposition. But I think that is the spin, right? The spin is, you say, the person that you're going to get every time you have a question, every time there is an issue, is you're going to get me. You're not getting my assistant. You're not, right? So that is somebody else's value proposition, right? Your value proposition is, I'm good at this, and I got other people that are good at that. That was absolutely my value proposition, right? Because I stink at the customer service aspect of stuff. And I'll tell, I think I've shared this before in the past. On my very first listing, and actually it was my second listing. First listing I took, second listing I sold. We overpriced it, and it lingered on the market. It took about 8 weeks to get an offer. And after about 3.5 weeks, the sellers called me and they're like, hey, Matt, we're just checking in. And I'm just sitting on the other end going, about what? And they're like, yeah, we're just wondering what's going on with our house. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, well, it's on the market. Like, what do you want to know? And they're kind of like, well, it's been 3 weeks and we're wondering what you're doing. And you know, are we gonna get an offer? Are we gonna sell our house? And right in the back of my mind, my mindset on it was, we signed the listing contract and I'm doing everything I can to get it sold, and I'll call you when I got an offer. Right. Well, that's a recipe for disaster, right? Most people want, you know, every day they pull in the driveway, they're driving past your sign going, my house is for sale and I want to know what's going on. And I'm like, what do you want to know? When I got an offer, I'll call you. Like, what do you want to talk about? You know, and right. So that was the recipe for implosion, was to have that kind of customer service. And so in the back of my mind, the sooner I was able to hire somebody who could call my sellers every week and love on them and take care of them and all that stuff, the better off I was, right? Because that wasn't my thing, right? And I was sitting there at nighttime, you know, trying, you know, photoshopping stuff and making a flyer, and it was crooked. And so like I was really good at negotiating contracts, right? I wasn't good at those pieces, right? So that's kind of how you built your business too, right? Was you surrounded yourself with people that excel on the things that you didn't do great.
That's right.
So talk, go ahead, Logan, throw out a question.
So I actually did a deal with with Ed
Okay.
for a house at 307 Christopher.
Huh?
And I'm relatively new, but like working with you guys like opened my eyes to the amount of the amount of back and forth like I had from my buyers in your office. And yeah, like Olivia was awesome. Hopefully she sees this, hears this. I dealt with Darlene too, and then like maybe somebody else. But I guess what I'm curious about is, because I'm spending all this time on paperwork and going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I'm just like, all the while I'm doing this, I'm not out making money on the next deal. And I'm like, I'm not great at, I love helping people get what they want, but like the paperwork and the compliance, and I was just like, man, if I had someone dealing with all these questions, and I could be out doing the thing I'm good at, which is like, just get in front of them, make them like you, make them trust you, but like, when do you, like, what's the number where you're like, I need somebody, like, how do you bridge that gap? Cause like, I'm hustling on my own.
Yeah,
But
but it was
I'm
a
wondering-
progression. I mean, believe me, I showed $20,000 trailers on a Sunday morning, and you did it all at the beginning. You did it all, and you chased it. And I did banking, Matt, you did banking and stuff. I mean, I walked in the nastiest places you've ever seen in your life.
People sleeping in there and.
But the best thing about the bankers was they were consistent listings. So like, I didn't have to go resell them. I just had to service them. But so it's a progression. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think you're going to see, so part of the reason why I built my business the way I did was because I did have young kids like Megan. And I didn't want to be a buyer's agent where I was out every night in the week and chasing these buyers all around and weekends and different things. So I made a decision that I wanted to change my thinking. My dad was a custom builder for 30 years. So I worked for him. So I knew construction well. And then that's how I got my foot in the door with a lot of the builders in the area. But you just get to a point, you got to go as hard as you can go. And I hate paperwork too. So you finally get to the point where like, I can afford to pay someone to do all the other things. And then you just keep growing and growing and growing. I mean, up until halfway through COVID, we only had like 3 admin. We've probably doubled or even more our admin staff just because we were understaffed. And we realized that we kept hitting these pain points where it's like, we have more agents, we have more deals, and we're all scrambling. Darlene does my buy sides and Olivia does my listing sides. Like I could see they were just like up to here. So you just have to keep on building and building, but if you want to keep growing.
Logan, if you want my tip, here's a tip. From day one, even if I had one deal going on, I would hire Tracy and let her do all my transaction management, and I would focus on building my business.
Yeah.
I would never send one mortgage commitment, one document anywhere ever again in my life if I could pay somebody else to do it. You only pay if the deal closes.
Yeah.
Comes out, you can take it right out of your commission. Why would you ever spend time when you could go out and preview homes, get to know the market, go out and do anything else like that? I would never do it from day one. I would leverage every dollar for a couple $100, right? If you look at your time and what your time is worth on there, if you're selling a home and making an $8,000 commission, right? You're a $40, $50 an hour person. Why would you sit there and go online and email the closing attorney this and email the mortgage company that? I would never do it. From day one, I would hand that stuff off to a professional.
My top agent has never written a contract, never written a listing agreement, and probably never written an addendum in her entire career. So that's but she is
But they're
amazing at going out there and taking listings.
But their internal support is equivalent to using our internal leverage support.
Exactly.
Right? So as a sole agent, you just give it all to Tracy.
Yeah.
You just give it to Tracy and her team, let them run with it.
Yeah.
So
And they communicate with, like Tracy communicates with the,
to the extent that you want her to, she will communicate with your clients and move stuff around, and absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not the same level, it's not concierge level service, it's transactional support. But you can work with Tracy and say, could you handle these things for me? And you won't find a more hardworking, conscientious person. So I, from day one, would never do it. right? It's such a nominal expense. If you're gonna make $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 and you're gonna spend $300 or $400, so you're buying your time back, I would do it from day one.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about commission objection handlers. Are you getting any commission challenges in Western Sussex? And if so, how do you overcome them?
I usually don't. I usually, like I said, when we go there, we talk about, like, I feel like in Aaron, they want you to be there and they're not, takes a special person to question that. You know, if you go to the best doctor, like you said, you're not gonna sit there and say, can you do it for a little bit less? Like, you're there because you want, and I don't want that to sound cocky, but you want the best person to be there. And so that, I don't find that too often. What I do say is, if we try to get 6%, so if we get 6%, I will say, if one of my agents on my team sells your house, then we'll do it for 5%. And then I'll say my agents, so you got 30 agents working for you, not necessarily because some of them are only in Maryland, but we give incentives on the back end for them to sell your home. So you're going to get, instead of getting one agent, you're getting 30 agents to try to sell your house. Plus we're going to go on the MLS. So I just use those things. The worst case scenario in this market, I'll take a listing for 5, like you said, because I probably would never go under 5. But if I have to do 5, I'll do 5.
So you guys, listen, let me tell you this, that one of the top agents in the world, you've heard me talk about this before, if you've seen me teach a listing class, is a guy named Alan Dom in Philadelphia. He's called the Condo King of Philly. Alan Dom is so competitive and will not let anybody take a listing. So he's got about a dozen high-rise condo buildings that he takes all the listings in. And he is so nutty about somebody not getting a listing in one of his buildings, that if somebody lists with if there is a seller that lists with another agent, he goes in and buys it himself immediately that day and continue the contract as they remove it from the MLS immediately. He immediately goes in and buys it. He wants 100% market share in his dozen buildings. He was one of the first agents in the country to sell like 1,000 units a year in a primary market. And Alan's really a great guy. He's on Philadelphia City Council now. He's really interesting to watch. He's an independent niche guy, right in center city Philly. He works like a 4-block radius. That's it. And nobody touches his listing. So you go in there and Alan will not let somebody take a listing in one of his buildings, and people just know it. So it's just Alan, that's his world. But it's kind of your thing, right? You don't want, there's no way I want to lose a listing in an area where I'm trying to build up my reputation on there, right? So that's just part of it.
And it's like you said, listings are just instant money.
It's contractual money, right? It's a contractual obligation.
Our numbers show it. I mean, we took less listings than we sold listings. We had a few carry over, but it's guaranteed.
Yeah,
it's guaranteed.
Questions for Russ on there?
Yep, so there was, let's see, one question. You mentioned a marketing email that goes out in advance. What is the makeup?
It just shows how, our systems work, how our marketing works, where we spend money, reviews on Zillow, Google, how Brivity works, how we market on Brivity, introduces the listing coordinator and how that situation works. So pretty much walking them through the whole process before you even go there, and they know that I can then track when they look at that email. So if I go there and they've looked at it 13 times, then I know daggone well I don't have to talk about it because they've scrutinized the heck out of it. So that's been pretty nice. You just set the tone when you get there.
Anything else?
Well, it could be for whoever wants to answer.
If it's generic, hold on to it. But it's not just for us.
Well, it was, both of you spoke to it.
All right, go ahead.
About if you are a newer agent, do you not think it's important at the beginning that it does make you more versed by at least going through the process and learning how the documents and the forms and doing the listing and doing the contract to close piece as a new agent to learn the process?
It's absolutely good to learn the process, right? And we could coach you on the process. You could ask Tracy to help you with the process. I would, certainly by transaction 5 or 6, right, is get somebody else involved. You just got to buy your time back. You are far better off going out and previewing 2 listings that came on the market yesterday, getting to know the inventory. Because when I go on a listing appointment, I say to people, well, yeah, I was in that house and I was in that house and I know that house, and right, because I'm active in the market, right? This coming, I still take, 2 to 3 listings a month if I can, right? That I personally, do that. Megan sent me a buyer referral to her nephew. I'm gonna go work with her buyer, her nephew, on there because I want to stay in the market. But when I got to meet, it's this coming Saturday. There's a whole bunch of new listings. I'm gonna go out and preview like 6. I want to know what's going. What are people paying? What are they doing? You can't do that and sit at a computer. You got to be active in the market. So yes, you need to know the documents, you need to know the process, and there's no way you should be spending your time on transactional things that you can leverage out, even from day one. The faster you can get that off your plate, the better on there. All right, so we're gonna go over by 10 minutes. So don't leave. If you've got to go somewhere, it's fine, but we're going over by 10 minutes. Aaron, Tommy, come back up here, pin Megan back up on here. And I just want to see if there's any more. We won't go over the 10 minutes, but I want to give you guys a chance. These are great agents that have a lot of wisdom and stuff. So, and we can even open it up beyond listings a little bit if you would like to, but I don't want to miss this chance when you got these smarts in one place. So if you've got some questions that you want to throw out there, and if you don't, it's okay, because I know we're right up on the time, but I said we would do it. So for those of you who want to hang for a little bit more, we won't go more than 10 minutes, but feel free to throw a question in there, anything you want, because I'll make them answer it. So you can answer you can ask anything you want. So throw a question out there, anything if you want to, and if you don't have it, it's totally fine.
Can I kind of speak to his question too? Because I'm passionate about it. So I'm kind of one of them guys that always wants to do everything. I don't want to hand everything out to me, right? Or I can't trust anybody else. And Matt and Bridget and all these people are telling me, listen, hire an assistant, right? And I was new, I wasn't getting paid a lot of money, and I'm like, hire an assistant. I'm not even sure how I'm gonna pay for groceries. And so I kept grinding. And then I was like, you know what? I need to figure out what my time is worth to me. And so I got lucky. I hired my wife as my assistant, but I can tell you that my business doubled and almost tripled in a year from hiring an assistant. So
So did you train her how
I
to
did.
do?
Well,
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't love what she's doing. And
Sure.
I'm like, listen, I'll go be the dog.
Yep.
And I'll go get it, bring it back to you. I mean, that's what my parents did. Like, it worked, kind of. I
So
mean,
how
the business
long
worked.
have you been doing it now? Not
6
long, right?
months.
Okay, well, they'll be trained in the next couple weeks, believe me. That's how mine was. She had to, you just got to hear all my stories every time I came home,
Well,
you
so
know, so.
I don't think she knew what I went and did all day. So I started working from the house like for a couple hours a day if she had off. So she could hear me talk on speakerphone for 4 hours and be like, oh, this is what you do all day?
Yeah,
And I'm like,
she'll be trained soon enough, trust me.
All right, we have some good questions here. So first one is, what do you think some of the most successful marketing strategies have been? You can either all answer or just whoever wants to answer that.
Let me just delve into that question. So who asked it?
Pam Brown.
So Pam, do you mean marketing of homes for sale or marketing for clients, for prospects? Just want to clarify on it a little bit. When you talk about most successful marketing for what? Who are you looking for? Are you marketing a home for sale or are you looking for inbound seller prospects?
Listing prospects.
Okay, so what would you guys do if you were to do marketing for sellers, for seller prospects?
Take it away, Russ.
Marketing to your past clients. And I know that's hard for a new agent because you don't have any, but it gets easier as time goes on. The more that you do, like Tommy said, he can go to every one of these people that he white glove touched and say, tell all your friends, and they're going to tell all their friends. So I feel like that gets easier, but you do have to stay in touch with them. We're building out systems right now to make ours a little bit better. We feel like a lot of people come back to us. Did we miss 10 or 20 people in the last couple of years that we could have had another deal with? I'm sure, and you're not going to get everybody, but I just think making those processes better and better. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it gets easier. Those conversations, those listing appointments get so easy when it's somebody that referred. I mean, you just talked about it too, like.
Well,
Yeah.
you may not have a lot of closed business already, but you have people that you've done business with your whole life.
Mhm.
You have people who know you, make sure they know what you're trying to do, market to them.
Mhm.
Market to their friends, market to their family. Yeah, go with the people who know, like, and trust you already,
Yep.
and build your business from those people. They'll help you if they know that you need the help.
Well, I think somebody asked a question earlier, like, when you're new, how do you get started? And the way I answered that question was, when I went in and they were like, well, if you've never sold a house, you've never done real estate before, how do you sell yourself, right? So, I went in and told these people, hey, listen, I'm gonna work hard for you. I don't have any other people. So you're gonna get me and all of me, right? You're gonna get the VIP treatment, and my kids need to eat, and sometimes that's the story you gotta tell people. And once you tell that story to that person, they're gonna tell somebody else, and then somebody else is gonna tell somebody else, and then you get to, kind of the point where we're at, where when you come in, it's, it's typically already your listing, kind of, so.
It's been touch or go with open houses, but that's another thing. But in our area, most people have to, unless they're a first time home buyer, they have to sell their house in order to buy another house. So go find agents in your area, call me, call Tommy, call whoever and say, can I sit in your open house? And most people are gonna say absolutely. And you go there and you get a couple of people come through and you have that conversation and follow up, and that's a listing for a person that has no business. You can tout the brokerage numbers. Don't tout, you might have only sold one house your whole career, but say my brokerage is the number. I mean, use all the charts that Bridget puts out every week. So just tout the big thing. Don't tout yourself if you don't have any accolades.
Got another question?
Yep. So this one, came, I think this is from Michael, Moore. Yep. And so the question is, how many of you, and I think I know the answer about Megan, because I think I know what they do. But for the rest of you, when you are recruiting folks for your organization to work with you, assist you, are you following kind of the KW recruitment process, the career visioning? Are you following that to a T?
Who asked that? Trying to get me in trouble? That
Michael Moore.
Yeah.
I think it was Michael Moore.
I bet you Megan knows.
I mean, I'll jump in. What I use, I use both, right? Because as I've been at KW a little bit longer, I'm starting to plug in a little bit more. I'm a stubborn guy. I said that, right? And I was in I do it all myself. And then when I started to plug in, I saw it for myself. So now I can pass that on to agents that come in. So when I'm recruiting, not only do they see the Facebook, they want to be part of a family. They, oh, by the way, this KW Command, like this, we use the Boomtown platform as well. Boomtown, what is that? You hit these new agents with, experience. Hey, we got leads. Hey, Gary Keller's figured it out. It's not for me to figure out. Watch this. Let me show you this. So it really, at the end of the day, becomes kind of easy to recruit team members if you treat them like family. And I know Russ does.
How about you, Megan? As far as adding agents to your team, do you follow a process? Is it through relationships? Do you wing it?
Well, we've learned from our own mistakes, I think, in hiring, having, that connection. And I'd be like, oh, they're great, they're perfect, bring them in. And, then come to learn that they weren't a great fit. So from those mistakes, we learned outsourcing is our best option for success. Mostly because, again, it comes down to what are you good at? And, I may not be good at, reading between those little things in their application that might give me a sign that they may not be a long-term fit. So I think Matt knows we're buddies with the Sopranis, and we reached out to them a couple of years ago for our first hire, and that was successful. And so we've done two other hires. One is in process at the moment. And even if it's people that we would have potentially found on our own ad, I think the whole concept is that they take the client or the candidate, through the entire CV process for you. And you are free to keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is, your 20%. So it's another fabulous piece of leverage is outsourcing recruiting. But for small roles like, internships, we'll just, put out a Facebook post or something like that and weed through that.
Okay.
was gonna say, you can send a KPA, the Killer Personality Assessment, have Bridget or Charlene send that, because I tend to love everybody and think that everybody's gonna be wonderful, and most of my clients want to come be a realtor with me after they've worked with me. So,
So easy.
right, because
Yeah,
it's so
I think we
easy
all
and
get
it
that,
looks
don't
so
we?
fun.
You
and
paid
it's
how
like-
much?
It kind of is most of the time. But the KPA lets you slow down a little bit. If anybody hasn't taken it, take it. It's kind of eye-opening. And it lets you see that person and how they would, how, I guess they would, how do you say it? How they answer versus somebody who's high achieving and happy in their role, how they answer, compares the two. And it really lets you see, this person would not be a good agent. But that's kept me from hiring a couple of people.
All right, we're out of time. I know there's some other questions in there. Uh-oh, did somebody say,
You want one more question? Wait,
All right,
two
we
more questions?
gotta do it, but we gotta do them quick because we gotta honor people's time.
All right. Are you using any other social media platforms beyond Facebook?
Yes, Instagram, believe it or not, I'm a TikToker now.
Oh, no, I gotta go find some Tommy TikToks.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot. We were doing kind of themed open houses. I don't know if anybody saw that. We would say, we had one on
Elliot's Island.
the Roses. Well, that one, yeah, we had one on Elliot's Island. So we went and we were themed as Gilligan's Island. So we put that all over TikTok. Steve's in here with us. If you can't see him, he was dressed up as Gilligan. I was the skipper, and so our whole team dressed up and we flooded TikTok and people loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, people were calling and saying, when can you come sell my house? We want to do an open house just to see what you would come out. But one was on Bel Air Street, so we did the Real Roses did Fresh Prince of Bel Air, which was
Love
pretty
it.
cool. But yeah.
Okay, last
TikTok,
one.
all of
Oh,
All right, one more. Go.
last one. What do you do specifically to stay in touch with your past clients?
What's your past,
Mailing.
what's your past,
Popeyes. I love Popeyes. I
What's
love
a-
treats.
what's a Popeye?
Popeyes are
Strawberry, vanilla?
maybe, yeah, they're just treats, all sorts of little stuff. They can be as simple as a roll of gift wrap that says wrapping up my year and, couldn't forget you, and leave it on their porch. I haven't done anything that corny. Usually it's a little bag with treats in it.
So
but
Popeye is a
they're
physical stop by
a
to see a
physical
client.
thing. Yep, and I have a list of, we call them our raving fans, and they get Popeyes usually once a month. So,
Okay,
Customer appreciation events have been good for us in the last couple of years, even through COVID. We usually get several deals after that, just from people that know, like, and trust us and refer us out. So it's been good.
you guys, when we talk about the client events, it can seem daunting for a solo agent to be like, how would I pull that off and have 3 people show up? I would encourage you to grab 6, 8, 10 agents and do a combined one. Grab 10 agents and do a combined client appreciation event, right? And each chip in your money per, based on the people that show up. And you could do a client appreciation event that's co-branded among a dozen agents and have a really nice time. So don't think you can't do these things on your own. You just gotta get creative around them.
Or Matt, you can narrow your niche. So when it was just me in the beginning and my assistant, we focused in on the moms. So if you narrow your focus, you might get more connection and more turnout as well.
That's true. That's kind of what I was gonna say. So I tier mine. Prime example would be when it don't snow Saturday night. Deep snow. I get a call at 1:30 a.m. and it's a client who sends me about 40 transactions that close a year and says, hey, a friend was coming over. We have a gender reveal for our baby tomorrow. They slid into a ditch. Can you come pull them out? It's 1:30 tonight. Yeah, I know. Give me 10 minutes. So I tier them. I won't go pull everybody out at 1:30 in the morning, but customer appreciation, we do little takeaways in the mail. We do giveaways all the time. So that's how we stay engaged.
All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Megan. Hopefully this was beneficial for everybody that hung on to the very last second. We really appreciate you joining us and hopefully it added value to your business.
Awesome.
All right,
Thanks,
see you
everyone.
later. Bye.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good job. You too, man. All right, I'm running to the restroom. I had to go.